Cordova Recreation and Park District regular meeting. I'd like to call it to order. Welcome, all of you. And I guess now it's time to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, directors. Tonight we have the Cordova Cordettes here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
So 2017 was a great season for our Cordettes. Our team music for the season was Music Icons, and our girls really enjoyed rocking out to some of the classics. Swimmers are looking forward to the 2018 season, which will kick off with swim clinics in April. And here tonight that led us in the Pledge of Allegiance was Juliet, Mackenzie, and Haley. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll have a roll call, please.
We received advance notification that Secretary Danzel would be absent this evening. Director Lineback?
Here.
Director Sloan? Here. Vice Chair Yearwood?
Here.
And Chair Reyes?
Here. Are there any board disclosures on any action items? Directors, none? Okay. So let's move on to the comments by the public on non-agenda items.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Members of the public may address the board on district topics not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It is a violation of state law for the board to discuss or take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. And at this time, I do not have any speaker cards.
Okay. So we'll move on. We are going to be working on the consent calendar. And after consulting with staff, we would like the directors to, I will ask you if you have any questions on the agenda, on the consent calendar items as after the clerk has read it. If you have any questions, we'll go ahead and ask it. And then when we're done, then we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item C1 on the consent calendar is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors on December 20th, 2017. Item C2 is the District Financial Report, November 2017. Item C3 is to adopt Resolution 17/18-26, honoring Becca Niles for over 6 years of dedicated service to the Cordova Recreation and Park District.
So do I have any questions, any discussion here? No questions? Okay. And since Director Danzel is not here, we can take all three. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items C1, 2, and 3.
I would like to make a motion to approve consent calendar items C1, C2, and C3.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Director Lineback, seconded by Director Sloan. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Secretary Danzel is absent.
Okay, so we will now move on to presentations.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item D1 is a presentation of Resolution 17/18-26 to Becca Niles.
Becca is even here with her camera tonight taking pictures, so she goes all the way to the end for us here. So, wow.
Good job.
So it is my honor to present Becca with this resolution number 17/18-26. Whereas Becca Niles has been a dedicated and loyal employee of the Cordova Recreation and Park District for over 6 years. And whereas Becca began her tenure with the district at the Neil Orchard Senior Center, where she formed many special relationships with the seniors and staff, she transferred to the Riverview facility after that experience, where she transitioned into the marketing and communications role. And she served as the district's media specialist and as the acting department head for the communications division upon her arrival at the district office. And whereas Becca was instrumental in the staff work group that helped develop the current mission and vision statements of the district, as well as implementing guidelines and standards for all forms of communication to ensure consistency and successful marketing of the district brand. And whereas Becca has taken the leadership role in major technology projects throughout the district, including establishing full telephone and network connectivity at all facilities, serving as IT liaison with consultants and managing several overhauls of the district website, one of which won an award of distinction from the California Association of Recreation and Park Districts. And whereas Becca has utilized her skills in graphic design to develop individual logos for many district events and the Hideout, create marketing collateral, signage, and custom images for the website. And she has ensured the integrity of the district logo and promoted identity through the management of everything from uniforms to apparel to the recreation guide. And whereas Becca has administered the district's social media expansion and presence on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, including creation of the Instagram photo contest and the establishment and monitoring of the district's customer service and after-hours contact systems. And whereas Becca has also always endeavored to fully understand the needs, workflow, and activities of each department in order to effectively promote and support the functions of the district. And whereas Becca has professionally represented the district throughout the region, including as social media lecturer at the Sacramento State University, sitting on session evaluation panels for the California Parks and Recreation Society, and serving on interview panels for other park districts, participating in events for partnering agencies, and guest spots on Radio Disney, and through appearances on Good Day Sacramento. And whereas Becca was able to combine her love of events and photography by capturing moments at the multitude of park openings, programs, preschool classes, and events, building the district's archives and creating better photo documentation than ever existed previously. And whereas Becca is known for her attention to detail and grammar accuracy, affinity for the skill in developing forms, budgets, and processes, and tenacious problem solving. And whereas Becca has completed 5 successful requests for proposal processes, produced 12 recreation guides, created and maintained separate budgets for the communications and IT, and managed numerous consultant service agreements. And whereas Becca demonstrated strong organizational skills and planning skills as the lead on producing significant district events, such as the Wine and Cheese fundraiser and the Heron Landing Community Park opening. And whereas Becca has been an accomplice in numerous office pranks and practical jokes, mastered the art of selecting the perfect meme for any occasion, and has participated in at least one Cupid Shuffle dance-off. Her wit and sense of humor will long be remembered after she leaves the district to conquer her next life goals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Cordova Recreation and Park District does honor the service of Becca Niles on behalf of the board of all of the district and the district staff. So with this, passed and adopted the 17th day of January 2018 by your following vote. And with that, I believe, is there a vote that needs to be?
It was done with a
It is
consent
done.
calendar.
It is done on the consent
Yes.
calendar. But I would like a picture, so if you could come down and we can take a group picture for Becca. It's amazing, isn't
It's a
it?
long one,
So,
but first, let us.
do you have the?
honor
Here is the official one. I couldn't read the small print, so I had to go a little bit. So we'll go on over to the circle. Yeah, there's no way I can read this.
Could you please step forward?
She handled
Did you tallest to shortest? I know you didn't say that. I was just following her lead from the class.
Yes.
All right. One more.
Friend, yes.
Thank you very much. Rain or shine,
So right now, if I follow our agenda, we have a scheduled break, a 15-minute recess for refreshments and congratulations to celebrate Becca Niles. So please join us. Everyone, please join us in the community room.
Cake.
Jill, do you want to take a picture of Becca with your
So are we ready? Okay, so we have returned to continue our regular board meeting. It is 7 o'clock. And so we are on item E, committee reports.
There are none.
Item F, public hearings.
There are none.
Okay, and we'll go down to G, which is regular calendar.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item G1 is to authorize the district administrator to execute a 3-year service agreement with American Guard Services Incorporated, AGS, in an amount not to exceed $100,000 annually for security patrol services throughout the district. And I'll turn it over to Park Services Superintendent Jerry Dobbs.
Okay.
All right.
2 years went by very fast. Ever since we first initiated this contract with American Guard Services. Excuse me. Over the past year in particular, we've actually used the American Guard Services quite a bit. They've been quite helpful. They've been instrumental in helping us with several issues that we had faced. One was having guard service available during the daytime at Hagan Park for almost a period of 2 months to go ahead and be on the lookout for a former disgruntled employee that was pretty upset with the way we were handling the hiring process. And then we also had them present for a couple of our board meetings, which they've been instrumental in securing making us feel a little bit more comfortable when we dealt with some tough issues. The board dealt with some tough issues, one of which was the shooting center meeting that we had earlier last year. But also, we've been utilizing them quite a bit to help us deal with some of the other issues throughout the entire park district. Very, very pleased with the fact that daily we get a report from them per park, per site that they visited throughout the entire evening. They're also Johnny on the spot by giving us details about graffiti, also damage to our facilities, so that we can jump on it the following morning when we're present. Laura Foley is very good about reading all those reports for each morning and being able to get those reports out to our various supervisors so that we can go ahead and tackle those issues. We've utilized them also for, it may sound odd, but we have a lagoon at Hagan Park that is often stocked with fish. But we've had a lot of folks that would often take advantage of the fact that fish are being dumped into the pond, usually for special events, such as the Fly Fishers of Sacramento will sponsor events for kids to learn how to fish, how to do fly fishing, but also kids who are disabled and have never fished before in their lives. So we have game wardens and so forth that are there to be able to teach the kids to fish. But what was happening was that we had people come out at night, but also during the daytime, or even when the truck was present, and they would come with nets to scoop up as many fish as they possibly could. We needed some help. Besides utilizing staff, we were starting to use American Guard Service to patrol the pond so that keep out the fisher folks until the kids at least have a chance to fish the pond. Extremely important for us. You notice that this year that we requested $100,000 for a service. Last year, because of all the special requests, we actually spent $97,000. So trying to keep within reason of what we actually need and what we can actually look for this coming year. We also know there's an increase in the rate, and we're looking at a total of close to about $83,000 that we plan to expend. I wish we could have more. We're going to be able to extend a shift of a couple of guards, particularly on nights that we have most of our problems, like Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, to go ahead and patrol our parks. Right now, they do 8-hour shifts. Eventually, I'd like to get to the point where they're doing this shift throughout the entire evening. But that's to come. I really forecast the fact that we can actually have guard service throughout the evening. Right now, we're at a really good start. I appreciate the fact that we have guards that are in marked cars, and they're also in well-marked uniforms. They're also well-trained, and they're also in contact with our police department. I also have worked it out with the rec folks and those who do cleanup at night that they call upon American Guard Services escort when needed, particularly in the White Rock area. That's been extremely helpful. So it was very easy for me to recommend that we go ahead and utilize American Guard Service for the next 3 years. And I wholeheartedly endorse the use of their services. Very professional. They're worldwide or nationwide. They're starting to go across the world right now. They're very polite, very courteous, and they're very discreet on how they handle some of the problems out in the neighborhood. I truly appreciate what they do for us. I'd like to go ahead and entertain any questions that you may have concerning the request to go ahead and authorize our district administrator to execute this 3-year contract.
So we're open for some questions. Director Lineback, did you have a question, please?
Yeah, I did. You sort of answered one of my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Because when I was reading the report, it showed that over the last 2 years, it was a average, I guess, annual of $75,500. So it looked like a 1/3 increase going from $75,000 to $100,000 with only a 5% on one rate and 7% on the other rate increase in their hourly rate. So it was like it was a bit of a disconnect. But so half of those services were not performed in just the last year, but more like 2/3 of the 151,000 were in last year, right?
Pretty much so. The other thing we're doing too is that we are working with recreation when they do special events within our district, especially if it's alcohol-related events. We require that they have at least 2 guards there to be on duty, and it's been a good thing on a few of the occasions that they've been available to help break up some fights and so forth.
So really, you've been using them more as you've experienced what they can do for you?
Definitely so. They've been very reliable. Extremely helpful, and they have the can-do type of attitude that really reflects well of our Cordova spirit here. Yes, ma'am.
And also, I didn't notice that there was an escalator for the years 2 and 3.
They did not provide that. So I'm taking it that this is going to be the rate for the next 3 years.
Okay. And I actually, a question sort of popped into my head as you were speaking. Do they have the ability to write citations for like being in the park after hours or anything like that?
Right now what they do at the orders I have is that when they see a problem out there, particularly if there's a potential break-in, they're to call the police and be on standby. Okay. What has happened here within the past, and we're slowly going this way, is that our staff oftentimes are called, can we arrive at Hagan Park at night or White Rock at night to check out the situation? We're not trained in that type of capacity. Whereas they're trained to be cautious, trained to go ahead and be on the lookout. If they're able to ascertain there's a problem, they're to call the police. They're only armed with batons and pepper spray. They have rousted quite a few folks out of the parks at night, the ones they felt comfortable with. But there's been a few occasions where they've had to call the police to go ahead and get the help that they needed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Director Sloan,
No, my question was answered.
Vice Chair
What's his name again?
Yearwood.
How quickly you forget. So was this just, we only asked them to submit a bid? Did we put this out for everyone, or?
We actually put it out when they first bid over 2 years ago, and it was a highly competitive bid process. When we reviewed their application, their credentials, and I went ahead and called references, I was extremely impressed, and they worked very closely with us. Felt like it was an opportunity for us to continue working with them. They know the parks. I can count on them locking and securing the restrooms without people being locked up inside. Beforehand, we were having that issue. The first couple of years I was here, we had at least 3 people locked up inside the restrooms, and we cannot have that. So we went ahead and just stuck with the American Guard Services this time. Once this contract is up, we will definitely go out and just entertain more potential guard services that are out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
A quick question. When we have patrols, how many patrol cars do we have at night to take care of all the parks?
We have 1 patrol car Monday through Thursday. Fridays and Saturday, we had 2 patrol cars to go ahead and ride in tandem, because we're finding out we have more problems during those times of the week. I'd definitely like to at least try to get Sunday in that mix with the additional funding that we do have, because we're finding that we're needing it.
And then I noticed, right now we have unarmed with pepper spray and a baton, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we see that at any time we may need, for whatever, event it is, armed officers?
I think it could be an eventuality, but excuse me. I believe that in speaking with our insurance company, we would have to have a different type of insurance. But the other thing is beneficial for us publicly is to go ahead and have a guard service that's unarmed in that fashion and utilize the police department that are paid and trained for that type of job.
So if there is an event, do we provide the guards or the security? On the park, no, we don't ask for the event provided to probably, pay for some security,
That is actually one of the fees that are paid for, particularly for the alcohol-related events. Okay. There's an extra charge for that.
Okay.
Or they cannot rent our facilities.
It's a requirement for rental. So if there's alcohol involved, it's an automatic security fee that's attached if they want to rent our facilities. Now, if it is a non-alcohol related, the requirement isn't standing. If they prefer to have security, we can offer that service, but they're paying for that service. We're not having security there for the district to correct.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions? Vice Chair Yearwood.
So since we've instituted their services, I assume it's been a positive. Have we seen incidents dropping and people knowing I assume maybe they're not having to roust as many people as often. Maybe folks get the idea that they might as well go somewhere else or wherever the case might be. It's a positive impact, I assume.
I believe the positive impact that we're having with the guard service is the fact that our communities are seeing them out at night in a marked car and in uniform. Sometimes they will get out of their vehicles and walk to park. And I appreciate that. I've sat down with them and they'll tell me all sorts of tales what they come across. But they take the rules of the park very seriously, where we're not to have camping at night or people staying in the parks at night. And if there's a problem that, for instance, if we get calls from our alarm service, if there's a potential break-in, we can call upon the guard service to check it out. and they're the eyes out in the field for us. And they've been a godsend for me because I've gotten several calls where all I have to do is call the American Guard Service, check it out. They get back with me, said all clear, no problem, and it's written up in their report the following morning.
Just anecdotally, when I was out in the community, we did get a lot of feedback from people, like Jerry was saying, noticing the security presence is now more, there's more of an awareness, especially at Federspiel, actually. The feedback from that community event that we were at that had noticed and brought it to my attention that they were very appreciative of the fact that they were very visible, and it has potentially deterred crime. And also going back to this past year, we have had that major homeless situation going on in our parks, and they have been very instrumental on facilitating those folks getting out of our parks in a very kind, respectful way. So I am really appreciative of the fact that they are being very socially aware of how to best work with those folks and not go right to, a punitive type of approach. So I've only heard great things, and I was very comfortable in supporting the recommendation that Jerry was making.
In addition, I have to say that when I reviewed what are the top few concerns of neighbors our community members have within our district, and security is up there, I think it's number 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel like we are being active and proactive in addressing those concerns in the community. And eventually I'd like to see more out there. But we're at a very good start. We've actually have a good foundation that's been built on good security within our parks.
I have a question.
Director Sloan?
Mr. Dobbs.
Yes, sir.
How many actual guards or security people do they have on patrol on any given evening or day?
Well, Friday and Saturday night, there'll be 2.
2 for the whole district?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that was the amount how we had previous to all these years? We've had that only 2?
There were many times we only had 1.
1?
Now,
with the addition of our new park out in Anatolia, it seems like they were going to be spread a little thin, don't you think?
They are spread thin, but the approach that we have worked out is that we give them a list of our problem parks, and without going into a lot of detail, Federspiel being one, Hagen, White Rock, they'll check those out at least 2 or 3 times a night. And they randomly check all the other parks so that you cannot predict which park that they're going to visit on each given night. And that we've asked for that to be done on purpose. They agreed. They thought it was a good strategy. And so I think with them patrolling maybe like 7 Falls on Wednesday night and maybe once on Saturday night, but not every night, it's been good considering the amount of resources that we have right now we can invest in security.
So the funding for this is PMRID? Is it straight Measure J? Or let me just say this: when the PMRID had passed,
yes,
one of the biggest things was safety,
That's
and
correct.
I think it was the way we were able to start even a patrol service, security patrol. And at that time, I do remember some other parks in the newer developments were talking about it, and we said, well, this is right now for the PMRID because it was funded by the PMRID, so it was in the zones, 4 zones,
I'm
right?
not
But right
seeing-
now, is it, no, my question now is, if it's all over, right, then how is it being funded when they go out to Anatolia and they go out? Do they go out that far?
They go out to Anatolia, VOZ area, and Mather. They investigate the PMRD A, B, and C. Matt came up with a strategy where we get funding from each of those zones to help fund security. It's put into account 201, which is our indirect funding source to cover all the district for a particular type of service or supplies.
So my question would be, this doesn't seem to be added security. This seems to be the same security we've already had. Because we have 2 people, we've had 2 people, And if we're saying part of the measure J was added security to our parks, this is not added, really. Well, we're not adding, if you had an extra person out there, a third person, or 4 people out there,
It's adding-
that's added security.
It's adding frequency. So it's not necessarily adding a body, but it's adding actually how much time they're spending out
Longer.
distributing their services throughout the district. So the public will see an increase in terms of visibility for security by the amount of time that is requested from the security guards to come out. So it's not necessarily going with 3 or 4 guards. It is actually upping the amount of time that the security guards will be actually monitoring the entire district. So that's where the notice has come from our hot spots. We want to be resourceful in identifying those times and days that are most needed. And so that's the reason why we have 1 during the week and 2 during the weekend, because Jerry had done the research and the study, and the reports from this particular security company is allowing us to see, there's a trend going on that typically Fridays between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m., there's maybe a lot more activity than, say, a Monday afternoon. So we would be flexible with where we're starting to see trends and hotspots in security throughout the district. So there's some flexibility that's needed with their times.
I know the Rosemont community has put up signs that will direct you phone number to call in case they see something going on. Yeah. Do we have that in all our parks?
So there's a couple things here. So there is this private security, in essence, system that we have for the district. There's other resources. There are the City of Rancho Cordova Police Department. There is the County of Sacramento Police Sheriffs. So there is a lot of security resources that we have in our district available to us. The numbers that are on the Rosemont Park, I believe, are Sac County Sheriff phone numbers. Because they have jurisdiction in that area, and we have an understanding that they would be reporting to that park if there was a call made from that park. So a lot of this is relationship building with the police departments and the jurisdictions that are in our district. It's a complementary to the services that City of Rancho Cordova PD provides, as well as the County of Sacramento. They're not intended to be going out there and busting up fight or like some kind of drug deals. They're more as a presence of security in terms of knowing someone is having their eyes on our properties. So the numbers referred to are typically going to be emergency type of numbers instead of our private security numbers, because if you're calling a number, it should be for the case of emergency contact the appropriate authorities.
And I guess added security could come into the form of security cameras.
Correct. If we decided to implement that.
That's a good thing. Okay, if there are no other questions, then I would entertain a motion.
I'll move the Board of Directors authorize the District Administrator to execute a 3-year service agreement with American Guard Services, Inc., AGS, in an amount not to exceed $100,000 annually for security patrol services throughout the district.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Vice Chair Yearwood, seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
And Chair Reyes?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
So motion carried there. All right, so now we're going to move to item H, which is Board of Director items.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item H1 is board member reports. For training, there were none. Item H1B is board member community activities and meetings report. And in compliance with Government Code Section 53232.3D, board members are asked to provide a report on information that is relevant to the Park District.
Thank you. So who would like to start? Would you like to start, Director Lineback?
Yes, I'll start. I attended the Rosemont Community Association meeting on January 4th. I had been given an advance question by the association. They had heard from the food trucks that the district was going to be doubling the fees for the Food Truck Fridays at Rosemont Park. and they were quite upset with the district. They felt that it was a community event, which of course, really food trucks selling food to the community, less of an event than a retail operation. But the truth turned out to be that the fees that the district was going to charge for this year were exactly the same as the prior year. And it appears that the Sacramento MoFo was trying to get the RCA to put some pressure on the district to reduce their fees. Apparently, the participation at Rosemont Park is just, barely at where they would want to see it. They'd like to see more, and so that they could make more money. But the RCA was informed that the district's fees remained unchanged and that it's reasonable to charge a fee to a for-profit business that was using our park, on the first Friday of every month. So I think they understood that there might have been a little bit of manipulation on the part of Sacramento MoFo, and they understood that the district was not trying to, put the screws to anybody or ruin their community events. So I think it ended up positively in terms of how the RCA felt about how Sacramento MoFo was being treated, and that that the events weren't turning on something that the district was doing. So,
well, thank you. Thank you so much for being out there and proactive and ready, so that we can make sure that it stops right there.
Yeah,
Do you know what is the fee? Is it a percentage?
It's $300 for the year.
Okay.
Per park. They also use, what's the other park? Eagles Nest Park for the same fee. So their total contract was for $600 a year, and they turned around and told the Rosemont Community Association that the fee for Rosemont was going from $300 to $600, which was just not accurate.
That's true. And when they do that, do they have insurance? Or
we have an amazing facilitator, Gail, who is the one who actually works with them. It's a contract that we create with them. And yes, you are correct. This is traditionally the SacMoFo, or in several communities throughout Sacramento region. And we did some benchmarking to have that fee established last year, implemented it without any issues. But that $300 fee is actually under market in comparison to surrounding cities that are offering the same exact service. And so the $300 per park is, in our opinion, based on our research and our benchmarks, a very reasonable, in fact, discounted way for having SacMoFo to be out at our parks. I do believe what you had said is that they're trying to obviously be able to sell their products at the lowest possible rate. So it's kind of like popping up storefronts on our property. And so with that, they're getting, I believe, 21 opportunities throughout when they start to when they finish the contract. Was it about 21 opportunities to sell their items for $300?
For $300. And that's for as many trucks as would be there. $300 for the whole year. That's correct. Very interesting, because if you stopped and thought about it, when somebody would like to rent our pavilion or something like that, it would be about that much for one time. $200 for one time, and this is for a whole year.
I have a question.
Well, that's interesting.
Are the trucks parked in the parking lot?
The trucks typically park on the street. They put usually a trailer that has music and stuff like that playing. That's in the parking lot. But then they set out tables and chairs in the park itself. Okay. So while the trucks themselves are on the street.
That's basically what the fee is set up for, where
they're
eat.
Using the park, yes.
Right. Because I always thought that they told me that if they're on the streets, it's not our property, that they can
They're using the park.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But they made it into a bigger event with chairs and tables and.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, last time they were selling beer in November, right?
Yeah, they had, I think it was October. That was a fundraiser, though, for
Us and.
us at, well, the foundation, and I think, were they giving money to
Friends of Cordova.
Friends of Cordova, but also, I feel like there were three.
I know we were one of them.
Okay. Yeah, well, I won't speculate, but but they did very well at that, sold a lot of beer. And so I think they'd like to, the RCA, that's who the RCA benefited from that, as well as the Friends of Cordova Parks. And so I think they'd like to put it on 3 times a year.
So that's probably a situation where they need to have security, right?
Yes.
Because if they're selling beer, even if it's an event, they need.
Yeah, we could work. We were going to work with that group. We're in good partnership with them. So we would, in the case of security, maybe they would have their POP officers or some security from Sac County that would supply that, and we would waive our need to provide that. So we're always very open to those kind of things.
How is it going over at Eagle's Nest? Same? I mean, pretty much as busy and.
So their only concern that was brought to our attention was Rosemont. So my assumption is that the Eagle's Nest is popular enough for it not to be an issue.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Director Lineback. Now it's Director Sloan.
Okay. Look at all the audience. On Tuesday, January 9th, I attended the Rancho Cordova Athletic Association. And there was a lot of park-related items that came up on the, they weren't on the agenda, but they popped up during the discussion. On the agenda was the status of reports of sports renovation projects, and Stone Creek Soccer is, in line for some allocation, some money. They're going to negotiate where that money's going to go into that, maybe probably fertilization or something like that, because I think it's, otherwise they're beautiful fields. The one thing that popped up was a comment about the Dusty Baker School going elsewhere because we couldn't accommodate them or something, and I think it was a big misunderstanding. And I think one of the main people of the association had all the information wrong. We made us look like we were hard to negotiate with, and we wouldn't give in, and we were forcing them out, which wasn't true. So we tried to find other locations, and maybe it just didn't work out. They'll be going to Capital Christian and using their facility over there. Yeah. But anyway, Jill's name was mentioned, and Jill promised me that she would attend the next meeting, which is usually the second or first Tuesday. Yeah, first Tuesday of the month. And you'll probably be notified the day of when it is. But another item that came up was adding the district's information on their website. And a lot of discussion was almost to the point where if we were going to be planning some program, we'd have to have it okayed by them, the Rancho Cordova Athletic Association, which is not what we really want. So that's why we need another meeting of the minds to sit down and see how we can work together. I mean, the one thing that came up was a flag football league that Brian Hendrick said that we're planning, and Dennis Lamentia said that, we're planning to start one too. And then they said that, well, see, this is why we need to be on the same page, so that we both don't start a separate program. And they go, well, then who starts it? I think that's something that we got. Unless we can work together, like saying, okay, you guys do from 8 to 10-year-olds, and we'll do the 11 to the 13-year-olds, or something like that. That could possibly work, but there needs to be we need to sit down and discuss how we can work better together without having to compete and change our plans, our programs. because we need all the programs we can get going. That's what it's important for us. We don't get a lot of extra money coming our way, so we need to create great programs, which we do, right? The next thing, well, they have this basketball leg that's kicking off, and all sorts of stuff. They have the Hall of Fame, which is going to be March 31st, deadline for nominations, and the event is October 13th. Is that going to be homecoming?
I don't know, I think they just have a standard date for that.
Yeah, okay. Well, and then earlier today, I attended the CRPD board meeting. And, well, let me give you, first of all, the upcoming spring conference is going to start a day earlier. It's not going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just to try something new, I guess. And that is up in South Lake Tahoe, back where we were for like 4 years in a row.
Usually ledge days are earlier that same week. Did they move the week? Because otherwise,
I do, typically it's ledge days are Monday and Tuesday.
I think they worked it around, it's at the end of the month, so I think it's after Ledge Day. This is going to be May 30th.
oh, okay.
Yeah. I said I'd have a hard time with that because I have board meetings on Wednesday night, because it used to be the third, right in there, and I said, you can't have that. So, but anyway, the big topic was this SB 5, the big park initiative and clean water and refuge and all these kind of, with the, I think it's $4.1 billion to be divided throughout the state. And so there's talks about, well, how much is going to be divided. And they've got this great list of different allocations. And so what our district, I think, is coming down to is it's not going to go really per capita for us. They said that the minimum that we would get would be $200,000. But if we passed approved a local park revenue measure between 2012 and 2018, which I believe we did, we were eligible to apply for another $40 million that's out there, which I thought was nice. And then another thing on there, and we might be eligible too, because some of our parks have the sustainability for drought and groundwater and water recycling. Do some of our parks have that ability? Groundwater and water recycling. Our newer parks, they mentioned one of our newer parks. Does it not have that type of a? No?
Water recycling?
They called it Regional Sustainability for Drought and Groundwater and Water Recycling.
That's a pretty big question.
I know, it's
and there's
pretty
a
big.
lot of different ways to implement that. As far as groundwater recharge, you can certainly do that by having on-site detention areas that allow the water to seep in, but that's something that we'd have to look at. I'm sure there's ways to implement that. And then the other thing is the gray water recycling is what I think they're probably also alluding to, where you catch water from the roofs and also you circulate the water from the restrooms. But right now, so far in our parks, we've paid a hefty fee for connection fees that maybe the next big park that we do, we can investigate that, but.
Well, there's something called groundwater sustainability plans. There's $50 million there for
Right. My first impression without doing a lot of research is that probably needs to be for areas of habitat conservation areas where there's much more land area in which you're collecting the water rather than small parks. That's just my off-the-cuff.
Open space trail areas?
Yes, and we have a lot of habitat conservation areas in Sacramento County where there's more opportunity to actually recharge the aquifers and that kind of thing.
Thank you,
Thank
Laura.
you. And here's something that they want you to attend It's going to be over at Arden Arcade, I think. Or Fulton, Carmichael. They're going to have a presentation for the park bond.
Already registered.
For this? Yeah. Great. That's it.
Thank you, Director Sloan. Vice Chair Yearwood.
Let's see here. Well, I attended. I did not participate in the polar bear plunge on January 6th. Director Danzel asked me to report out and say, yes, he participated and it was cold. And bananas do float, but...
Do it again? Do it in July.
I have a picture of 2 years ago when Brian was all by himself down by that ladder. There was nobody else around him, and this year he had quite a crowd around him. So that event is getting bigger and bigger every year. So hopefully, next year he's going to have to push people out of the way to keep him close to that ladder, probably. Because if anybody noticed the pictures I posted, as the bananas were jumping in one by one, Brian was already out of the pool by the time Andrea got in the pool. So he was right up out of that ladder. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so he wasn't messing around. So he may have dragged Brian in getting out, but yeah, it was a nice event. Like I said, there was a lot of folks out there. It was great to see Good Day Sacramento out there and all the coverage. And so, and as I said that day, I'll be participating when there's water in the Hagen pool. So,
Okay.
all right.
Do it.
And you gonna join me?
I don't know.
Okay.
This is recorded,
All right,
so if you say yes.
No pressure.
Yeah.
And I one thing I didn't think to add is I was also at the city council meeting last night where we were graciously given a big check that I'm sure didn't fit in any ATM machine for the work that we're doing over at Lincoln Village. So that was very nice to see, and hopefully there's more projects like that coming down the road.
See, Michael, I tell you, there's another bond measure that has to do with making sure that the defibrillator paddles are at every pool.
Oh.
If you have a lifeguard on duty. So if we have those on duty there on the premises, I might jump in.
We do, don't we?
Yeah.
We do have one?
That's it.
Are the batteries?
The ones that Hagen are questionable.
Yeah, it was hanging right next to a banana seed.
That's
all I got.
You sure
We'll be
those,
ready for you, though.
are you sure those aren't ping pong paddles? Come
We'll be
on.
ready for you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Yearwood. Okay, so on my reporting out, right now, I was really very pleased to be able to have Director Lineback and Vice Chair Yearwood with me, and we had our planning division there and our district administrator to receive the check from the City Council, Community Enhancement Fund check for the Lincoln Village Park Course. And that amounted to $76,000. Okay, and so that was really neat. And the biggest thing that I thought, was to acknowledge it, which I did, and on behalf of CRPD, that we were looking forward to more partnerships to serve the community. All right, so good job to staff for working that with the city of Rancho Cordova with applying with the Community Enhancement Fund. Okay, so now I'm going to move down to H2.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item H2A is to nominate and make appointments to board committees for the 2018 term. Staff is recommending that through separate motions, the chairperson make nominations, and then the full board vote regarding memberships on our 6 board standing committees. They are the School District 2x2, the Budget and Finance, the Capital Improvement and Park Construction, District Policies, the 2x2 with the City of Rancho Cordova, and the PMRID Oversight Nominating Committee. We are doing it at this meeting according to district policy, following the election of the chairperson. All meetings of standing committees conform to the Brown Act, and the chairperson may make ad hoc committee appointments directly if desired, and there is no direct fiscal impact associated with these appointments. And I'll turn it over to Chair Reyes.
Thank you, Danielle. When I took my chairmanship, I received a request for some information as to what were my goals and objectives for 2018. There were a couple of questions that I was asked to think about and just answer and kind of give a picture of what I'm hoping we can make happen in the year 2018. So the first question was, what are your three top priorities for 2018? And as chair, I would like to first start the Cordova pool replacement project, secure the monies required to bring a community pool back to Hagen Community Park. The second top priority was to see to it that we facilitated the reorganization of the Friends of Cordova Foundation, 501c3, so that it was set up more for the business community to raise funds and to establish partnerships to run programs and services in our facilities that better serve the residents of our districts. So I'm really hoping that we will be able to access grant monies to be able to do bigger service and also to be able to get a board that includes business community. And the third was to continue to improve our relationships with the city, the county, school districts, and civic organizations. All of this geared towards providing service to our community and the community that we serve. And then the second question that they had asked was, where would you like to see the district by the end of the year? So I thought hard on this, and I said, well, I would like to see it continue to be financially solvent. This last year, we've done a good job. We've pulled ourselves out, and we are starting to be able to have a forward-thinking forward planning group. So together with that, I would like to have us develop a 5-year financial sustainability plan. And this is staff will bring this to us, and I'm hoping we can look 5 years forward. And then also to have started the Measure J projects at designated parks in the districts. Those are this is what I'd like to see happen by the end of the year. Get these starts and move forward. And in what capacity would you like to see the district grow? And I would like to see development of additional programs which would promote harmonious interactions between our diverse cultures. We need to celebrate that and to bring opportunities for people to learn more about each other's cultures. And I think that's very valuable because when we do that, we'll be able to locate resources and we'd be able to celebrate strengths of our community. And then also, I'd love to see us implement some additional programs for all ages, most especially additional programs for adults and the sprightly seniors that are coming on board here. Look at Jerry, right? We know what that means. So yes, I'd love to see that happen. So these are the challenges I'm putting to staff and to ourselves and the board. With this in mind, what I did was I said, and I was facing my recommended motions here to be able to set up the different committees. And so what I would like to do is I would like to maintain, if it's all right with our committee members, you've done a good job, you've been there, and I really would like to hopefully continue, because my whole goal is let's keep moving forward, let's not step back. So I'd like to continue with the committees as they were set up. Unless any of you members are having any hardship or conflicts that you would like to, to adjust. Okay? So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to nominate Directors Sloan and Yearwood to the School District 2x2 Committee for the term 2018.
I will second that nomination.
Yes, as nominated by Chair Reyes, seconded by Director Lineback.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Secretary Danzel is absent.
Okay, so we'll move on down to Budget and Finance Committee. A lot of work was done there. And so what I'd love us to do is to continue moving forward. I would nominate Directors Lineback and Chair Reyes to the Budget and Finance Committee for the 2018 term.
I'll second that.
Seconded by by Vice Chair Yearwood.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Secretary Danzel is absent.
For the Capital Improvement and Park Construction Committee for the year 2018 term, I would like to nominate Directors Danzel and Yearwood for the committee.
I will second that nomination.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Secretary Danzel is absent.
Okay, so then for the District Policies Committee for the year 2018 term, I would like to nominate Director Lineback and Chair Reyes to man those committees. So I'm calling for a second to the motion,
I'll
please.
second that.
Seconded by Director Sloan.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Secretary Danzel is absent.
Okay, so I'm going to go down now to the PMRID Oversight Committee. If Danielle, if I could go to this, because I'd like to talk about the city 2x2 after this. So I would like to nominate Director Lineback and Chair Reyes to the PMRID Oversight Nominating Committee for the year 2018. I'd like to call for a second to the motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Yearwood.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Secretary Danzel is absent.
Thank you. So with regards to the city 2x2s, I know that's kind of like put on a hold. Well, I'm hoping that hand in hand with my goal for and my challenge to staff to improve our relationships with the city, with our school districts, then I would like to see about trying to bring and start the city 2x2s and going forward and inviting through Mayor Budge to consider this. And when I used to serve on it, what we did was the people that sat through this were the chair. So I'd like the chair and the vice chair to be able to participate in the Cordova 2x2 committee for 2018. So that's Chair Reyes and Vice Chair Yearwood.
I will second that.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Secretary Danzel is absent.
And right now, we do not have a need for an ad hoc committee, and therefore what I would like to do is I'd like to hold off so that should we have to pull forward an ad hoc committee, I would be able to see the strength or the needs and see who directors would be available for it. So if I may put that aside until it's needed. Thank you. And thank you very much, directors. We have done together a good job. Let's keep moving forward. So now we're going to move to the comments by staff on non-agenda items.
Great. Thank you, Chair Reyes. Some highlights from this past month. We are in discussions at this time with the Sacramento County as well as the Kings NBA team to possibly identify a location within our district for a renovation or a remodel project for a Kings Court to come into our district. Staff will be meeting with them in the next week, and we're going to look to see if we can have that opportunity come to our district, which is very exciting.
Can you explain what a King's Court is?
It's a Sacramento Kings basketball team. They have provided resurfacing and or promotional opportunities throughout Sacramento region to renovate existing courts in certain parks and turn them into painted the Sacramento Kings basketball court. So it's very branded Sacramento Kings. So it's been done in Sacramento. It's been done in Southgate Parks and Rec District, and Don Natoli approached us and brokered a deal for us to sit down with them and discuss the possibilities of having it in our district. So
At Mather, we're thinking?
we have to find out what the criteria is. So we don't know if it has to be in Sacramento County or if it can be in Rancho Cordova or in Mather. But we're going to have that meeting coming up next week.
Great.
So stay tuned. The Community Enhancement Fund check was presented, like mentioned. We have been meeting with the LPA consultants on the pool conceptual design diagrams, the marketing and operations plan, and just today we met with them on the programming plan. So things are going really well. This group has demonstrated some great competencies. Staff is, as am I, very impressed with their service so far. And we're looking forward to the first community outreach event on February 15th at 6:30 at Hagen Community Center. So that will be the first opportunity for the public to see what designs they are going to be approaching in terms of options. I believe they're going to come with 2, possibly 3 options based on all the research and criteria that we've provided them with our program plan, the marketing, the finances, and everything related to that. So we have a good demonstration of what our money will get for the design that they'll be providing. So that is going very well. And tonight you have a bag, a goodie bag that we are excited to share with you. So in your goodie bag, and the bag itself is one of our promotional items, we have our 60th anniversary that was rolled out on January 1st. The bag includes a beautiful fan as demonstrated by our model, Director Yearwood and Director Reyes.
Vice Chair.
And Vice Chair. And we also have in the bag some pretty cool stuff. There's a keychain. There is, so you all know what this is.
Isn't that cute?
This goes on the back of your cell phone. So it's one of those things where it attaches and so you can have your cell phone sit up. And this is all the rage with the teens and younger crowd, so this will be an attraction.
That's right. That's wonderful.
We have a nice fancy keychain. So I'm very pleased with the products we got to celebrate, and we'll be handing these out at events, public engagements, things like that. So kudos to Becca and Jill, who came up with the products as well as branded it with our logo. In addition to these handouts, our logo, the brand of the 60th anniversary, is also on all of the staff's taglines. When you get an email from us, you will see this anniversary logo for the entire year on all of our return messages and messages sent out to the public. The activity guide, which is still in production, will have a highlight in that activity guide as well as the celebratory ways we're going to be exhibiting how we're celebrating our 60th anniversary. So that's very exciting, and once again, I'm thrilled with the products and the handouts that we're going to be giving. They're of higher quality, and it's also something that I hope that people will hold on to instead of just, oh, that's nice, and throw it away. So,
could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Are you planning like a big celebratory event?
In July?
yeah, we're doing we're going to attach it to the Party in the Park event, which is in July. So. July is a National Parks and Recreation Awareness Month. So that was the perfect opportunity for us to already have an existing event that's been growing and then attract a anniversary setting inside that event. So we're going to have an indoor in the senior center, a very formal presentation and celebratory way. We'll be inviting diplomats and folks to help us celebrate. So, as one of the activities. So we have several things planned, but that is our main event to celebrate the anniversary.
One of the things that I suggested, and I would love our directors to help me constantly remind our staff, is anywhere and everywhere we are, we should be celebrating. You know, people should know that it is, we're there, whether the balloons, which is really nice in here, or whatever, is that we are celebrating 60 years of serving our community. And I think that's it. You know, we may have one big, I'm hoping that maybe we can do a few more activities. I'm sure at the iFest, I'm sure at the other activities, I'm sure at the parks that we are, if there's any opportunity to see to it that we are visibly celebrating.
So, yeah, there's several of them, and the calendar of what those things specifically will be coming out to you guys soon. In addition to that, so enjoy those little swag items for you. We are, as I mentioned, we have that community pool project replacement plan. We are formally inviting folks that are stakeholders. So that includes the Marlins, the Cordova, Cordettes, and the school district, and folks that would have a vested potential interest in that. So those invitations are actually going out by the end of the week, I believe. We discussed today the invitees. So we're looking forward to that. We actually have also been working hard on the financing of this pool. Matt and I have met, and we had a kickoff conference call with the finance team, including the bond counsel and underwriting specialists on January 9th. The discussion is to finalize the process timeline and disclosure documents required for the expectations and the next steps. The team is excited in completing this step of securing the funds for the project. We will be looking to get rated, and so do you want to kind of explain that process a little bit?
Yeah, so this is going to be very fast moving. The team we're collecting all the data and information that's required for this official statement that they have to put together, and they want to bring it to the board in February. So we're going to bring all that documentation to get this thing going. And we're also going to go through the process of being rated. And what that can do is decrease our interest rate that we can get on the lease payments that we have to pay. And just know where we stand financially, what our stability is. And so I think that's important to know where we are and what we need to do to be better if that's the case. So I'm really curious to see where that is. And so, yeah, they're going to bring this, we're going to have a presentation next month for you to discuss and decide. And if we move forward, then we'll move forward on that lease loan payment that we're going to establish.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Moving into just some highlights in human resources, we have some recruitments out there. Our facility supervisor position closed on January 5th with 39 applicants, and interviews will be conducted by the end of the month. We're excited to get that person on board. We have a marketing and communication specialist position that was posted and will close on January 28th. And that is, we are receiving a very high number of applicants for that recruitment. When it opened, I believe we're probably over 100 at this point, easily, with still several weeks left for us to be able to pick the best candidates to come forward for interviews. We are also looking to provide some support to the park planning area, since the amount of work is very overwhelming in that area. So we're going to look to have a clerical person to help with filing and some just organizational things to support their service to the district. One of the more anecdotal things is we had Jerry be our Santa Claus during our preschool winter celebration this past year, and he was good. He got the preschoolers to talk about their reindeers and where they're parked, and Jerry was quite the entertainer. So thank you, Jerry.
Good, thank you.
We also offered a camp during the winter break for the Hideout. Last year, the enrollment was so low that we canceled it, but this year we were able to get it off the ground for 2 weeks with 15 campers, so I was really happy with that. The Barn Volunteers program is picking up. They are working more closely with the high school FFA volunteers to consistently come to the barn and support the animals and get their credit for class. In the senior center, they are so busy with all their events and things going on. But a highlight is they did have the breakfast with Santa, and Mrs. Claus and Mr. Claus were there to take pictures with a really great backdrop this year. We had about 120 adults and 82 children. And once again, Millie and Linda from the center donated handmade teddy bears to the kids that were attending the event. So that was a really great, nice service for them to provide for the kids in the program. Also in park planning, we have had community outreach meetings scheduled, as I said, for the 15th. Myself, Finance Manager Matt Goodell, and Laura, our Park Planning Manager, have been meeting with Sacramento County and the City of Rancho Cordova in discussing our Nexus study. And that study has been supported by the board in its approval, as well as staff in implementing and or negotiating fees. And so we will be moving that body of work forward to the County of Sacramento for discussions as future development keeps coming at us fast and furious. We want to make sure that we're consistent on what we're offering in terms of negotiating our fees. We have been reviewing the master plans for South Mather, as well as the New Bridge Public Facilities Finance Plan and the draft New Bridge Urban Service Plans. So Laura has been just tremendously busy. It seemed like when 2018 hit, all the developers decided to contact Laura and dump their studies on her lap. And so thank you, Laura. You've just been fantastic. She needs help, yes. In addition to that, some things that were not on the report but came in afterwards was I do know that there was a piece of equipment at Heron Landing that was broken. And we were notified right immediately when it was broken. So the part itself is coming from the Olympic land contractor, who is the one who stated that they have the part and they expect to have the Cosmo Play equipment part in and started the repair on February 7th. And that repair should take several days to make due to the size of what needs to be done out there. In noting that there is not a notice of completion for the Heron Landing Park at this time, which we knew, but there are certain things that the contractor needs to do in order for us to feel comfortable in signing off on that. So when that does happen, we will be coming to the board at that time and letting you know that the notice of completion has been issued so that the park is officially, I guess, done, right? So thank you for being persistent and making sure that we get the best quality product before we signed off on the fact that it was done. I appreciate that. So some other things also that came in is grant opportunities, that the window of opportunities to apply and for us to make it so that the board is aware that we're applying is not lining up with our board meetings. So staff is anticipating to make several grant applications in the next month. Because of the short application period, staff will provide a retroactive report on the applications at board meetings in the following month. Staff can't finalize the project scopes or applications until the program criteria is published by the funding authority. Some of those include the City of Rancho Cordova's enhancement grants. They are opening, if it is the same way that it was last year, opening of their application period is expected to begin in February, early February, with due dates at the end of February, similar to last year's schedule. CRPD management has identified 2 projects to support the partner with other organizations, one of which is the Williamson property. Improvements are looking to be made on that Williamson property in collaboration and partnership with Soilborne. Staff has met with Soilborne Farms to identify that as a potential location for a project to be done in the main project that they're focusing on is the possibility of it becoming a community orchard, which would in essence be managed by Soilborne, that has a volunteer program that actually has that specific skill that they train volunteers on. So we would be looking to apply for that funding with Soilborne to see if we can get that property up and going. Some of the funding sources that we need include bringing water sources to that property so that we can actually irrigate it. Obviously the trees, and then a possibility of a like a selling hut or some kind of like fruit stand where maybe the high school students possibly can sell the fruit that they harvest in the orchard. So those are things that we're planning on applying for. In addition to that, we're partnering with the Mather Sports Complex Petanque Court Lighting, those petanque folks that were here earlier. They have a need for lighting, so we'll be looking to work with them on asking for money to support a lighting upgrade over at Mather. In addition to that opportunity, there is also a community development block grant, and CRPD is expecting to have that period open in the month of February or March, depending on where they decide to open up their application time. And they anticipate applying for funding for a replacement restroom at Village Park, Lincoln Village Park, sorry. This is something that we have noted from our customers as well as general observations that this is something we need to focus on bringing back to that park for several reasons. So that is one of the projects identified. Another area that we will be looking to fund is through the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency, which manages the county's CDBG program. And we are anticipating submitting an application for the construction of phases of the Rosemont Park improvements that are currently in design, funded by the SHRA CDBG funds. Applications for 2019 funding are being received in March and April of 2018. So in essence, why I'm telling you this now is we have opportunities to apply for monies. And so if you are not getting the notification prior to the board meeting or at a board meeting, it's because the cycling of these requests are coming in, but the staff will absolutely report to you whether we have the opportunity to do so before or after to let you know where we are in terms of the status. And also right there is an update on our grant charts. So with that, the next page is board invitations. We have a Chinese New Year celebration at the Neil Orchard Community Center coming up on February 14th. The community outreach meeting, like we said, is a big one for us with the pool on February 15th. We have a new Parent and Me dance that we are going to be hosting for the first time on February 24th at Hagen. And Hoppin' and Hunting, of course, is March 31st, and a new volunteer celebration. Actually, that's the one at the Senior Center, right? So that's our traditional one that we've had folks out at. We've had Don Natoli, we've had diplomats attend that. And that will be on April 25th with the theme being circus. Everything's a circus. So that is something that I would encourage you to attend if you can. It's an amazing event. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you. One of the things I'd like to encourage our directors is if you meet up with or see someone or make some kind of introduction to people out there, leaders in our community, please provide that contact information to district administrator so that he can make sure that, you know, they are invited in the invite list and to join us. One of the things that I wanted to make sure of was that as you send invitations out for the stakeholders for the pool replacement outreach program is please make sure you send an invitation to the city of Rancho Cordova.
Of course.
To join us on that.
We'll be having a meeting with Cyrus to discuss it.
Wonderful. Okay, so we have information items. If there are any comments, questions, is there some, Jerry, did you need to say something? No? Okay. Anything else? All right. Then if there are no questions, then we'll move on to the future agenda items.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item K1 is regarding the regular board meeting on February 21st, and we do expect the presentation from the independent auditor on the fiscal year 2016-17 auditor's report and financial statements.
Okay, great. And then we've got the board calendar and staff.
I did want to mention 2 items. I had sent out requests looking for dates regarding scheduling a special board meeting. It is looking like January 24th might be the date, but I'll confirm after I hear from everyone. And then regarding the board retreat, it's looking like February 28th. But again, I'll confirm once I get those solidified.
Okay. What day is the
That was
20th?
that was a evening thing, right?
4 hours, I think, from 4 to 8 or
Correct.
something. What day is the
That's a Wednesday.
Okay. All right. And also for the special meeting will be this coming Wednesday, right?
Correct.
So far.
Unless you want
Looks
it to
like
be
that,
on our
unless-
birthday. They wanted to have on Monday.
That was fine. I said I was available. I forgot about you. So anyway, so see, nice. Clerk of the board has
At noon.
made it happen on Wednesday. So unless we have any other matters that we'd like to bring out, I'd like to, I was also asked to adhere to the Brown rules. So I would like to request that for adjournment, I need a motion to adjourn and a second. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
That we adjourn.
So we have a motion to adjourn, and we will adjourn to the February 21st meeting at 6:30. Thank you.
That's it.
Good job.